Hello everyone, welcome back to the another class of ICSE Class 8 History. So chapter number 13 is all about the Indian national movement. So in the previous class we discussed about the Indian national movement from 1885 to 1916. So today we'll discuss the Indian national movement from 1917 to 1934. So in this chapter we'll discuss about the Gandhian phase. Within this Gandhian phase, we'll discuss about non-cooperation movement and then civil disobedience movement. These two topics we are going to discuss in this chapter. So I request all my dear students to please go through this video till the end for your better understanding. And if you have the book in front of you, please keep the book in front of you and underline some of the important sentences which I'll be marking in this video. Okay, so let's start. So I'll be sharing the screen over here. So here we go with this chapter number 14. Chapter number 14, the Indian national movement from 1917 to 1934. In the previous video, I discussed about chapter number 13, that is Indian national movement from 1885 to 1916. Okay, so let's start today's class. So today we are going to discuss mostly about Gandhian phase. So let's start. You can see, you can keep the book in front of you also. Okay. Okay. So first of all, we need to know about Gandhiji, who Gandhiji was, where was he born. So we'll start from here. Emergence of Mahatma Gandhi. Okay. Emergence of Mahatma Gandhi. So you all know that Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi is known as the father of our country or the father of our nation. Okay, so his full name was Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, popularly known as Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, so popularly known as Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, popularly known as Mahatma Gandhi. He was born in 1869 at Porbandar in Gujarat. As you all know, the date also 20, that means 2nd of October 1869. Okay, that is his birth date. And this lean and thin man, after passing his graduation, he decided to serve the nation. Okay, so Gandhiji studied law in England and spent about 22 years in South Africa as practicing lawyer. Okay, after completing his education, he came back to India. Okay, he was a barrister and he got an opportunity to work with one of the Muslim firm in South Africa as the legal advisor of the firm. Okay, so when during his stay in South Africa, what did he notice? He noticed that a rampant racial discrimination was going on in South Africa. There was a racial discrimination in South Africa between the blacks and the whites. As you know that South Africa is a land of blacks, but as the whites were in minority, okay, though they were in minority, they ruled the black peoples who were in majority. So a lot of discrimination was going on in South Africa. So he was very much reluctant to go against this racial discrimination, which was known as apartheid, to be removed from the country. Okay, so you can see here, in order to launch a movement against the racial discrimination in South Africa, he started Satyagraha. Satyagraha was the first time he started Satyagraha for the first time in South Africa against the racial discrimination. So what type of racial discrimination? Blacks were not allowed to move freely. They had to carry the identity card and they were not allowed to visit those places which were exclusively reserved for the Europeans or the white peoples. Okay, example is that he even himself was a victim of this racial discrimination. He was thrown out of the railway compartment. Okay, the coach in which he was sitting, he was thrown out of that as a mark of racial discrimination. Okay, so you can see here what actually is mean by Satyagraha. It is mentioned over here. Okay, so it is mentioned over here that Gandhiji studied law in England and spent 22 years. How many years? 22 years in South Africa as a practicing lawyer. Okay, so practicing lawyer. So next you can see here, we have to scroll up over here. Yeah, Gandhiji's method. Okay, before that we'll discuss about okay, from here, racial discrimination. Let me make it a little bit short. Okay, the racial discrimination and humiliating condition under which Indians lived in that country shocked and angered Gandhiji. Okay, he became the leader of the struggle against the racial injustice in South Africa. Okay, during this struggle, he evolved a technique known as Satyagraha, which was later applied to the Indian national movement. Satyagraha for the first time was applied in South Africa, and later on it became one of the magic method which was applied in the Indian national movement during non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement. Okay, so that was practiced first in South Africa. Okay, okay. Now you can see here Gandhiji's method of movement, or we can say that some of the tenets of Gandhiji, the ideologies of Gandhiji, we need to go through it to understand about his nature as well as his peace of mind. So Satyagraha, Gandhiji's method. First one is Satyagraha. Okay, Satyagraha is a combination of two words. You can see here, Satya and Graha. Satya means truth, and Agra means earnestness. Okay. Satyagraha is based on the twin principle of truth and non-violence. Satyagraha, Satyakiraha. Okay, Satyagraha. Truth and Agra means eagerness. So Satyagraha is based on the twin principles of truth and non-violence. Okay, so next one you can see here. Next is non-violence. Satyagraha is the first principle of Gandhiji. Second one is non-violence. Okay, so Satyagraha was one. Satyagrahi was one who firmly believed in truth and non-violence and would resist evil at all cost. That means you are not going to use any violence, you are not going to use any force. You are just going to protest against the evildoers by not harming them. Okay, by not at all harming them. So Satyagraha was a peaceful and fearless and strong. You can see here, whoever follows Satyagraha or known as Satyagrahi was a peaceful, fearless and strong. He would hate evil but not the evildoer. So what is the most important thing? They would be hating the evil but not the evildoer. Okay, they are against the evil, not the evildoer. Justice and truth, Satyagraha would willingly accept suffering and he would be ready to make sacrifice. That means whoever decides to follow the path of Satyagraha and non-violence, they are ready to sacrifice to achieve their goals. Okay. Now you can see here, next one we have is Gandhiji always insisted that whoever wants freedom, whoever wants to follow the peaceful movement, they must follow these two basic principles, Satyagraha and non-violence. Okay, so Gandhiji insisted on non-violent methods of struggle. No one will be involved in any sort of violence. Okay, so he believed that non-violence was the weapon of the strong and could be effectively used to resist armed attack by the enemy. So armed attack by the enemy, that means that the enemy using arms also could be fought with the principle of Satyagraha and non-violence. Okay, so the first one is Satyagraha, second one is non-violence. Okay, so and the third one you can see here, let me tell you, we'll move forward. And the third one we have is Hindu-Muslim unity. So in order to start a movement against the British rule, we need to unite ourselves. Okay, so Hindu-Muslim unity is also must. Okay, so Gandhiji was a devout Hindu and passionate believer in the equality of all religion. He wrote, Indian culture is neither Hindu, Islamic, nor any other. Wholly, it is a fusion of all. So our religion, the religion which is followed in India is a fusion of all the religion. Okay, so there should not be any differences. So in order to unite all the people of the country, whether it is a Hindu or Muslim, we have to forget about the religion. We have to believe that all the religion is same, and this is the fusion of all the religion. So unity between the Hindu and Muslim is must. Okay, so he also convinced that the path to India's salvation, Moksha, lay in Hindu-Muslim unity. So if we want to free ourselves from this type of bondages, then we need to unite both these communities. So Hindu and Muslim must be united together. Okay, so Gandhiji lived and died for the cause of Hindu-Muslim unity. So it is mentioned over here, right? Gandhiji lived and died for the cause of Hindu-Muslim unity. Is that clear? So first one is Satyagraha, second one is non-violence, third one is Hindu-Muslim unity, and the fourth one is mass movement. So the movement must be, that means this movement, whichever movement we will be launching, would be including all the people of the country. There should not be any differences. There should not be any division on the basis of caste and creed. So this is not my movement. It is not the. It was not the movement of Gandhiji or few people. This movement should be of the people. Okay, that is why he wanted each and every people to participate in the movement so that it becomes a mass movement. When all the people of the country unitedly fight against any cruel rule, then definitely will become successful. Okay, so Gandhiji had immense faith in the capacity of the common people, okay, to struggle against the oppression. When we are being oppressed, then we have to free ourselves. How to free ourselves? How to fight against those oppression? By the movement of the masses, not movement of one people. The movement should be of all the people. Each and every people must unite together and fight against those oppressions. Okay, so under his leadership, the Indian national movement was transformed into a mass movement. So it was due to his effort that the movement became, or movement was transformed into a mass movement. No division, no high caste, no low class, okay, no moderates, no extremists, everybody, no Hindu, no Muslim, everyone must be on the same platform and everybody must follow the principles of Gandhiji. Then only we can become successful. Okay, once again, first one Satyagraha, number two non-violence, number three Hindu-Muslim unity, number four mass movement. So this way only we can become successful. This was a preparation. This was the preparation for the people, whoever are ready to free themselves from the bondages of the oppressors or the British rule. We must follow this. Otherwise, we are not going to become successful. We cannot fight against the mighty British rule in our country. So these are the only weapons. By following these weapons only we can become successful. Okay, so you can see here. So these are the pictures given over here. Under Gandhi's leadership, Indian national movement was transformed into a mass movement for freedom. So for bringing all the people together, in order to bring all the people together, what we have to do? We have to unite the people. We have to unite the people. Okay. Okay. Next one is social justice. Gandhiji was a great believer in social justice. Okay, he championed the cause of the poor and the downtrodden, the emancipation of women and improvement of the condition of lower caste, untouchables, whom he called Harijans, that is the children of God. He worked tirelessly to remove prejudices and change the mindset of the people. He believed that political freedom was meaningless. Just imagine this sentence. Okay, let me go through it. Okay. Okay, little bit. Okay, so he believed, you can see here, he believed that political freedom was meaningless without social reform. So political freedom is meaningless without social reform. Okay, so laws would be effective only if there was a change of heart. When unless and unless we don't change our heart, we cannot be politically free. Okay, so social in the society also justice must be there. Caste system should be removed. It should be eradicated. Okay, no differences between the people. Even the lower caste people, those who are called as Harijans, as was given by Gandhiji as the children of God, they all must also be included in the movement. Okay, there must be social justice, justice in the society. Okay. Okay, now next one. So Gandhiji returned. So that all were the principles of Gandhiji. Accordingly, he led the movement. Okay, even in South Africa also, in India also. Okay, so when he was in South Africa, as I told you that he started a movement against the African government, South African government. In that he was imprisoned. Okay, and later on it was decided by the authorities that it is better that we free this man, because if he stays here inside the jail also, here also he will start a movement. It is better that we deport him to his own country. So he was sent back to India. So when he returned back to India, he was warmly welcomed by the Indians, because in India also they had heard about the movement of this man Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, who was very lean and thin at that moment, but he managed to shake the very foundation of the South African government. Okay, so when he came to India, he was given the offer, why don't you join the Indian National Congress? Then he said that no, right now I'm not prepared. Right now I need to know about this country, because real India lives not in cities and towns. Real India is in villages. So we need to know the exact condition of the people of this country. So for that he toured the country. Okay, and later on he understood that everywhere the sufferings are same, and under the British masters the life of the people are very pathetic. Okay, so what did he do? He then and there did not jump into the national movement. He got an opportunity. He was requested by the people of Champaran. Okay, and then he started a movement uh, on a very small footings. Okay, so you can see here Gandhiji returned to India in 1915. So 1915, Gandhiji returned to India and began to take interest in the national politics. His early campaign was at Kheda, then Champaran, and then Ahmedabad. Okay. These three minor movements made him popular among the masses, among the poor people, among the peasants, among the workers. Okay, then later on he joined the national movement. Okay, so this first movement, first of all he was associated with one of the movement which was held at Champaran, that is in Bihar. You can see here Gandhiji championed the cause of the tenant farmers of Champaran district against the oppression and exploitation of British indigo planters. In Champaran, indigo planters forced the peasants to grow indigo, and when they failed to do so, they were punished. Okay, so they did not have food to eat, but British, that means the authorities forced them to pay the revenues, and also people life was very pathetic. So one of the man named Rajkumar Sukul, he approached Gandhiji and narrated the entire incident of Champaran, and Gandhiji said, okay, I am going to visit your city. Okay, so he visited Champaran, understood the real problems, and there he organized a movement, and to some extent you can see the movement was success, and the peasants received the compensation also. So this was the first movement where he was involved. Okay, then the second one was Ahmedabad mill strike. So there was a plague. The plague broke out in Ahmedabad, where mostly the mill workers had to suffer. So in order to save their life, they left the factories and they were moving out of the city. So in order to stop them, okay, the mill owners announced 75% of bonus. That means whoever stays back with us and work in this difficult situation will be given 75% of extra bonus. Okay, so we due to that many of the workers stayed back and worked with the owners, but when time came to get back those bonus, my dear, they simply refused, they denied. Okay, these people became frustrated, isn't it? So when they organized a movement, here also Gandhiji supported them, joined with the mill workers strike. Okay, and finally mill owners agreed to increase salary of the workers. Okay, actually it was not the increase of salary, it was the matter of bonus. 75% of extra bonus will be given to them, whoever works in this difficult situation at the time when plague had broken out in that region. Okay, so here also Gandhiji's involvement made him popular among the workers. Okay, then there was a Kheda strike, you can see here. So here also the cultivators had to face a problem when their crops failed, they could not pay the revenue. Okay, as per the law, if 50%, if the destruction of crops is more than 50%, then they don't have to pay the taxes. Okay, but this remission of land tax was not accepted by the government, so they started a movement. Okay, so Gandhiji advised and convinced the cultivators of Kheda district to stop paying land revenue to the government because the crops had failed. So crops had failed, so don't pay the revenue right now. Okay, so we'll do something regarding this. So later on, success of these three localized movement made him successful. That means with the good winter crop, many of the peasants paid the revenue, and with this the movement also came to an end. So with these three local movement, the success of these three local movement made him popular also. Okay, and many of the people understood the technique of non-violence and satyagraha also. Okay, so now we'll discuss about Gandhiji's involvement in the national movement. Okay, so in 1919, you can see, okay, from here. So in 1919, British government introduced a bill known as Rowlatt Bill. Okay, in 1919. So what was the bill all about? And this bill also became an act, Rowlatt Act. Okay, so Gandhiji was very, very unhappy with the passing of this Rowlatt Act. According to this act, the bill was this act was going to curtail the civil liberties of the people. People freedoms were at a stake. Okay, so in order to empower the police, the British government had passed this act. Okay, so Gandhiji even had called this bill as a black bill also. Okay, so in order to protest against this bill, so what was Rowlatt Act? Rowlatt Act was passed in order to empower the police, number one, to search anybody's house without a warrant. Okay, and to arrest anybody and send to, and were detained without any trial. If anybody is arrested, they will be sent directly to the prison, no trial in between. Okay, so this is the fear among the people that this is going to curtail our civil liberties. That is why they thought that this is going to be a great problem for the Indians, because everywhere, wherever Indians lives, this act is going to hamper them. That is why Gandhiji decided to launch a movement or launch a satyagraha movement against the Rowlatt Act. So with this, in the year 1919, Rowlatt Satyagraha was launched against Rowlatt Act. Satyagraha was launched, the name given is Rowlatt Satyagraha. Okay, so how did this movement start? You can see here, hartals were observed, demonstrations were there, no work in many other places. You can see the act was a gross violation of basic rights of liberty and justice of every Indians. In some places, particularly in Punjab, hartal led to violence. Okay, so simple strikes was observed, hartal was observed all over the country, but in Amritsar, the situation was out of control. That is why warning was given that public gathering is not permitted in Amritsar. But in spite of that, public gathered in a public place, that is Jallianwala Bagh, where they organized a small meeting. Okay, that is, you can see 13th of April 1919. A peaceful meeting was organized in Jallianwala Bagh. So this news reached General Dyer because on 10th of April 1919, okay, two important leaders, Dr. Satyapal and Dr. Kichlau, was arrested. So in order to free them, so these people were marching towards the commissioner office. On the way, they were stopped. The situation went out of control. That is why martial law was imposed. Army law was imposed in Amritsar. General Dyer came and took over the charge of the city, and he warned the people, from today onward you are not allowed to hold any meeting, no public gathering is permitted. Okay, so in spite of all this, on 13th of April 1919, a meeting was organized in Jallianwala Bagh. A small park was there, surrounded by tall walls. On the other side of the wall, tall buildings were there. Okay, there is only one entry point. Okay, so when this news reached General Dyer that people are organizing a meeting in Jallianwala Bagh, he marched with his soldiers, stood in front of the gate. Okay, there was only one entry and exit point. From there, he ordered his soldiers to fire at the unarmed people. So they continued firing until the last bullet was exhausted. Firing did not stop. Okay, so indiscriminate firing. That means no discrimination. Even the small kids were also fired. Okay, so many people lost their lives. So this people, okay, these people who were organizing a peaceful movement, they had to suffer a very defeat. That means sad fate in the hands of General Dyer. So it is mentioned over here that Dyer had issued an order banning the public meeting. General Dyer surrounded the Bagh with his troops, blocked the entire exit, and ordered the troops to open the fire on the peaceful gathering. The people who had gathered peacefully over there, they were fired upon. Okay, so they were fired upon. So you can see the picture of a General Dyer. Okay, recently there was a movie, Udham Singh, something like that. Okay, so in which it was in that movie, it was shown how General Dyer was killed by Udham Singh. Okay, so General Dyer committed a huge massacre, Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So this killing is also referred in history as Jallianwala Bagh massacre, killing of large number of people. So you can see here, shooting continued till there was no ammunition. I told you, no, they continued till the last bullet got exhausted. So you can see here, the shooting continued till there was no ammunition left. That means they finished all the ammunition. So nearly 400 people were killed and over 1,000 were injured. Okay, so martial law was proclaimed in Punjab. During this people were humiliated and tortured. So during this period, people were humiliated and tortured. Okay, so this brutality of Jallianwala Bagh massacre and the humiliation and inhuman treatment of the Indians that flocked shocked the entire nation. When this news spread out of Amritsar, people were very much shocked, and they started to hate the Britishers like anything. Okay, so Gandhiji was very much horrified. Gandhiji lost all faith in the goodness of British government. Earlier, he had some trust that British government is good. We definitely will talk to them. They will listen to us. But here, Gandhiji lost all faith. He lost all faith in the goodness of the British government and declared that it would be a sin to cooperate with the satanic government. So he described this government as a satanic government. Okay, Satan ka government. He was very greatly shocked. Okay, so this was one of the reason of a non-cooperation movement. The first reason is Rowlatt Act. Rowlatt Act was passed in order to empower the police. This was declared by Gandhiji as one of the act which is going to curtail the civil liberties. In order to protest against this Rowlatt Act, Jallianwala Bagh massacre took place. Number 2, and number 3 reason is Khilafat movement. So what was Khilafat movement? So let me tell you. In the First World War, Turkey fought from the side of Germany. So in 1919, Germany and his friends were defeated. So along with Germany, Turkey also had to sign a treaty. Treaty of Sevres was signed with Germany. You might have heard about Treaty of Versailles and all, right? So Treaty of Versailles was signed with Germany. Along with that, other 5 treaties were also signed, and one of the treaty was Treaty of Sevres signed with Turkey. So what is the connection of Turkey with the Indians, isn't it? So the Indian Muslims regarded the rulers of Turkey as the religious head. Okay, so the rulers of Khalifa, that means rulers of Turkey known as Khalifas, were regarded as the successors of Prophet Muhammad, and they were highly respected by the Muslims in India. And India, the Muslims were very, very close to the Britishers. They requested the British government to restore back the lost position of the Khalifas, which was refused by the government. So this changed their mindset and decided to launch a movement. So two brothers, Ali brothers, started the movement. So in the previous video also, I also taught you about the Khilafat movement. Okay, so Turkey's rule now is left with a little power. So the Indian Muslims wanted the restoration with the request on requesting the British government, but the British government refused it. Okay, so then they started a movement known as Khilafat movement. But later on, with the abolishment of Khilafat system in Turkey, this Khilafat movement also merged with the non-cooperation movement. Okay, so it is mentioned over here. Harsh treatment was given to Turkish Sultan. Okay, see here. Harsh treatment was given to Turkish Sultan, who was also the religious head of all the Muslims. Who was also the religious head of all the Muslims. So we don't know about other Muslims of the other nations, but Indian Muslims, they were very much frustrated to get the position of the Caliphs back. Okay, so as a result, Khilafat movement was launched by Ali brothers, Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali. Okay, so what was the main aim? What was the main aim of the Khilafat movement? So it is mentioned the main aim of the movement was to uphold the power and prestige of the Caliph or the Caliphs and preservation of the territorial integrity of Turkey. Okay, so this is all about Khilafat movement. Okay, so now non-cooperation movement of 1920. So we know the causes of non-cooperation movement. Number one is Rowlatt Act. Number two is Jallianwala Bagh tragedy. Number three is Khilafat movement. Okay, so on 31st August 1920. Okay, underline it. On 31st August 1920, under the leadership of Gandhiji, non-cooperation movement was launched. Okay, so both Khilafat and non-cooperation movement took place around the same time. Okay, but later on Khilafat movement merged with the non-cooperation movement. Okay, so now what was the movement all about? What did the how did the movement take place? Okay, so what were the objectives? Number one, to punish the guilty who was responsible for committing atrocities in Punjab. Number one, we are talking about General Dyer. Number two, restoration of the Khilafat system in Turkey. Okay, Khalifas of Turkey. Okay, so in order to achieve those objectives, what all did they do? You can see here, people resigned. Okay, part of the non-cooperation movement. People resign from government services. Schools were boycotted. Colleges were also boycotted. Okay, then stop selling foreign goods. Here, stop selling foreign goods. Okay, so the stop selling foreign goods. Okay, you can see here, stop selling foreign goods were picketed, and strikes and demonstrations were also held. Okay, so picketing means standing or making a group and standing in front of a shop selling foreign goods and asking the people not to purchase the foreign goods. This way this way they started the movement. Okay, so programs of the non-cooperation movement. So what did they do? You can see number one, boycott of foreign goods. Okay, number two, you can see boycott of government schools and colleges. Law courts were boycotted. Legislatures and all the British institutions were boycotted. Okay, then boycott of election and government functions. Okay, boycott of election, because as per the government of India Act 1990, election was to be held, so they decided not to contest the election. Okay, then number four, you can see here, renunciation of titles and honors awarded by the British government. Okay, then some of the constructive program also was there, like promotion of Hindu Muslim unity. Okay, abolition of untouchability. Okay, then promotion of Swadeshi goods. Okay, along with that, promotion of national education. Okay, so this movement was going on as per the plan. But in 1922, the situation went out of control. The peaceful peasants protesting against the price rise, so they were fired upon by the policeman. So that infuriated this man, this peaceful protesters, and they resorted to violence. So in anger, they locked 22 policemen inside the police station and burned the entire police station. Okay, so this movement is known as Chauri Chaura movement or Chauri Chaura incident. That means in a Gorakhpur district of Uttar Pradesh, a place called Chauri Chaura, a peaceful peasants, they were instigated by the policemen and they burned 22 policemen, locking them in the police station. Okay, so you can see here 22 policemen were killed. And this news greatly shocked Gandhiji, and Gandhiji ordered to withdraw the non-cooperation movement. So it is mentioned over here, Gandhiji immediately called off the movement. The movement was immediately called. Okay, and for which Gandhiji was arrested also. Okay, Gandhiji was arrested. Okay, so non-cooperation movement ended in failure, but the national spirit had been strengthened. Gandhiji withdrew from active politics and devoted himself to the task of social reform. Okay, so Gandhiji now is imprisoned. Now there is a small gap in between non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement. When there was no movement taking place at that time, Swaraj Party also was formed. Okay, Swaraj Party was formed, and Swaraj Party was formed by Motilal Nehru and C.R. Das. In short, let me tell you, later on Swaraj Party also completely failed and merged with the Congress once again. Okay, so then on 22nd, you can see here one more thing is there. In 1929, okay, in 1929, Lahore session was held. Lahore session was held. So before that, let me tell you, my dear. So after the non-cooperation movement, what all happened? Number one, Swaraj Party was formed. Number two, Simon Commission was sent to India. Simon Commission was sent to India to investigate the working of the government of India at 1919. Okay, so this Simon Commission was boycotted by the Indians. Why Simon Commission was boycotted? Because there was no Indian member in the commission. That is why they boycotted the commission. Anyhow, they did their work. Okay, and the third thing is that in the year 1929, a session was held at Lahore. There they took three resolutions. Number one, to boycott the first round table conference. Number two, continue the movement for Swaraj. Okay, start a movement for the attainment of Swaraj. And number three, to celebrate every year, that is on 26th of January 1930, they first observe the Independence Day. Okay, so you can see here, Congress passed a resolution. See here, Congress passed a resolution. Congress passed a resolution declaring Purna Swaraj, complete independence. Okay, so complete independence, and on 26 January 1930 was declared as an Independence Day. That means they observed 26 January 1930 as a Independence Day. Okay, so with this now, as per the resolution, they are going to start a civil disobedience movement. Okay, so you can see a Congress also resolved to launch a civil disobedience movement under the leadership of Gandhiji. Okay, so what happened next? That means the Lahore session was held on 31st of December 1929. So as per the resolution, that is 26 January 1930, Independence Day was celebrated all over the country. Okay, Independence Day was celebrated all over the country. Is that clear? Okay, now what is the importance of 26 January is also mentioned over here. You can go through it. 26 26 January was celebrated as Independence Day. You can see here. 26 January was celebrated as Independence Day every year till India finally became free in 1947. From 1950 onward, 26 January has been declared as the Republic Day. Okay, so till India became free, they were celebrating every January, 26 January as Independence Day. Okay, and after independence in 1950, 26 January was celebrated as a Republic Day because that was the day on which our constitution was enforced. Okay, now civil disobedience movement. So civil disobedience movement took another form of non-cooperation movement. Okay, so they decided to launch a movement. Similar movement was there. It was simple like a non-cooperation movement, but few things were changed over here, like salt law, salt satyagraha. Okay, government introduced an act. Accordingly, Indians were not allowed to prepare salt of their own. Okay, so Gandhiji decided to go against the salt law. Okay, so civil disobedience movement was launched by Gandhiji in March 1930 with the salt satyagraha. Okay, so Gandhiji decided to start with the breaking of salt law. The civil disobedience movement will start with the breaking of salt law. So for that, what was done? You can see here. It is mentioned every Indian had to pay salt tax. Indians could not manufacture salt because it was the government monopoly. That means Indians were not allowed to make salt on their own. Okay, so salt satyagraha started with a famous historic or started with a historic Dandi March. Dandi is the name of village on the sea coast of Gujarat. So from Sabarmati Ashram, they started a march to reach to Dandi, which came to be known as Dandi March. So Dandi March was started by 78 followers. Along with Gandhiji, 78 followers also followed him, and 385 kilometers to the coastal village of Dandi. Name of the village is Dandi. Okay, thousands of people joined him on the way. Okay, so on his arrival, when they reached, almost it took 12th of March, they started a Dandi March. Okay, on April 6th, they reached Dandi, all near about 1 month. And after reaching there, upon his arrival in Dandi, he picked up a handful of salt from the beach. This act symbolized the defiance of the salt law. That means from today onward, we are not going to obey the salt law. Okay, so this way the civil disobedience movement is started. Okay, so the movement spread rapidly. You can see here, civil disobedience movement spread rapidly. Civil disobedience extended to violation of other laws and refusal to pay the taxes. So one more thing was added, they refused to pay the taxes. So what all included in the civil disobedience movement? Included boycott of foreign goods, hartals were observed, demonstrations, picketing of shops selling foreign goods. It was similar movement like non-cooperation movement. Whatever were the programs of non-cooperation movement, same type of was continued in civil disobedience movement. Two things were added over here: salt law to be broken and to refuse payment of taxes. Okay. So an important feature of the movement was, you can see here, one of the important feature of the movement was the active participation of the large number of women. Large number of women also participated in the civil disobedience movement. Okay, Sarojini Naidu was one of the leader of this movement. Sarojini Naidu. Okay. Now, what next? So the government suppressed the movement with force and brutality. Gandhiji, Nehru, and all other important leaders were arrested. Okay, Gandhiji also was arrested, Nehru was arrested, most of the important leaders were also arrested. Okay, hundreds of people were injured or killed. Okay, in Lathi charge and police firing. Over 90,000 people were imprisoned. 90,000 people were also imprisoned. Is that clear? So this is all about civil disobedience movement. So you can see here the political activity in India. Okay, let me underline it. The political activity in India became very intense after 1937. leaders of the national movement had made it clear to the Britishers that their days in India were numbered. Okay, the British passed a number of acts and sent missions to appease the Indians, but in vain. So they were now very much worried that these Indians are now unstoppable. They could not be stopped. Is it clear? So this is all about from non-cooperation and civil disobedience movement. So in this chapter, we discuss about non-cooperation movement. Within non-cooperation, we discuss Rowlatt Act, Jallianwala Bagh tragedy, Khilafat movement. Okay, and in civil disobedience movement, though it is not mentioned, Simon Commission. Okay, Swaraj Party, and then beginning of a civil disobedience movement, Dandi March. Okay, and rest all were same. Okay, children. Hope you all have understood. So the Indian National Movement chapter number 14 is also over, and in the next tutorial I will be teaching you chapter number 15, that is Indian National Movement from 1934 onward till 1947. So in that we'll discuss about Quit India movement. Okay, so this chapter is over. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. Please take care of yourself and go through your textbook once. Okay, and still if you have any doubts and problem, then you can ask me any time. Okay, so please take care of yourself. So we'll meet again in next class. Till then, take care, stay safe. Bye bye.